Yeah.
All right, we're recording. Very good.
Well, and really, I think that the idea of putting multiple things inside mac and cheese is actually a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
You need something else in there. Otherwise it's just bread and cheese. It's like
Yeah, and cheese has protein, given.
not an
and,
ideal type of bread either.
And if you're using whole wheat noodles, which probably nobody is, but
certainly not Kraft.
Vegetarian.
yeah.
Gluten-free.
But we're not here to talk about mac and cheese, even though maybe we should have a review episode about that.
Tests.
But this time,
Yeah.
mortality and combat is actually the combination that we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, out there in TV land, and welcome to Paladin Lifestyle Entertainment. I am Matthew Boyer, your host. Joining me is Aaron Michael and Cody Wayne. Good evening, gentlemen.
You have to talk like the whole time.
That would actually be really good.
It's so
That could be
soothing.
my shtick.
Didn't you find it preposterous?
That would totally fit the privileged white man
Yes.
in America.
Right.
Oh,
back
dear.
when we all reviewed Hamilton, people would be like, "Now that's what I'm talking
We should
about."
have we should have worn wigs.
Yes. Oh, we totally should have. Maybe we'll do another Hamilton 1-year reunion.
We should.
Oh.
We should do that. So today we are entertainment. We are entertaining. We are talking about entertainment.
More importantly, yes.
Mortal Kombat is the topic of discussion today.
The recent movie.
The recent movie.
Obviously, nobody went back
Warner
and
Brothers.
watched the original. Yeah. Even though I'd kind of like to, they have those on HBO as well. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, but I hear don't watch the second one.
Annihilation or
Yeah,
whatever.
Don't watch that one. It's
Yeah.
I
maybe
can't-
maybe to make fun of it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Which one was the lizard in? Because I met the guy
Oh.
who played the lizard.
Yeah, I think that was Annihilation, actually. And I think that was the one where it's like, the fate of the universe will be decided as it should be. In Mortal Kombat. And has like
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly, dude. It had badass moments. But do you guys think that this was better?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that whatever the originals were like, this one was definitely better. I maybe saw the first one a long time ago and don't remember it,
Right.
but it's got to be just better than the other.
Pretty non-noteworthy.
Yeah.
So just like the overall vibe of it, did you guys enjoy? Would you rate it as watchable, cringe-worthy?
Oh, it's definitely watchable. Yeah, it wasn't.
okay.
It wasn't cheesy, in my opinion. Acting was pretty okay.
I would totally agree with that.
Nobody fell
Yeah.
flat.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think for what it was, I was overall very, very pleased with the. I was pleased with the storyline. I was pleased with the layout of the movie. I was pleased with a lot of different aspects. So yeah, I mean, it was very watchable. As a matter of fact, and it's one of those things that you kind of think, like, am I crazy? But I was like, I would actually kind of like to go watch that movie again.
Yeah.
Maybe while I'm doing something this time, but
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was kind of fun.
Well, because not only I think that it's important to mention, I really appreciate that we are at the age and that movies and computer graphics are affordable enough that it's like they can get some kind of unknown actors, put some great CGI into it, and make a really good effort. Whereas I feel like the video game movies of the past, they put in like the most piss poor effort, and it's like
Right.
they got no name actors, and they didn't have like spend money on CG or costumes
or
or
the
anything.
story was just shitty.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
if you look back on Doom had Carl Urban in it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it had Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Yeah.
Sure, okay, but I actually
But the
really,
story was shitty.
but I liked Doom. I like that movie.
It could be a
I'm-
guilty
yeah.
pleasure.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
we
is.
can all agree
I
that it's
would
not
agree.
great, but I
well, and
really enjoy it.
I love Carl Urban and The Rock.
Yeah.
So I mean, almost anything that they're in.
I mean, look at this. Well, and because again, it's just like with Mortal Kombat, and I think Doom is the same scenario. Because you're right, the storyline is like, it's plausible, it's paper thin,
Well, it was what the game was.
but it's exactly what the
yes.
game was, and I'm like, okay, well, the game is not. I mean, again, none of these are masterpieces.
Well,
like,
Right.
And actually didn't. Well, we'll talk about Doom some other time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they diverted from the actual storyline
They
in
did.
Doom. That
Yes.
like
in this they didn't.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be. I've never played the games, but from what I understand, it's pretty spot on.
Oh, sure. Okay, so you didn't, because I felt part of the joy was the little things that they did
Yeah.
So I'm happy that you still enjoyed it, not having been a fan of the games.
Yeah. No. I mean,
'cause-
I wasn't like Rugrats was an issue to watch when I was a kid. So playing Mortal Kombat. Plus, I didn't like playing video games. But if you
wow.
can't watch, if your mom's like, don't watch Rugrats, like I'm not gonna
Yeah.
get to play Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
so.
there's no finish. Finish him.
But were the games as violent as the
Oh,
movie is?
hella violent.
Mhm.
Hella
Ripping
violent.
people's spleens out of
Yeah,
their...
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, and it, like the graphics weren't fantastic, especially on like the
No,
Sega
right.
and stuff like that.
No. But in the like the Sega version, if I recall correctly, like there was moves where like one of the finishers was like this guy. I can't remember if it was Scorpion or Sub-Zero, whatever. But he punches the person and like the head comes off along with the spine. Like the spine comes out.
Yeah, I think that
That
was a
sounds so
Scorpion.
cool.
Yeah, that was one of Scorpion's finishing moves, where he like grabbed their head, neck, and spine, and
Yeah.
like pulled it out.
Did they do arcade games too? Like you go to the arcade?
Yeah. It was a big
yeah.
arcade title.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, and the more modern incarnation that they had on the Xbox years ago, our older brother was so excited for it, and he got the game, and it's like the friggin' finishers in that. It's just like you're looking and you're like, oh, who came up with that? Like,
Yeah, they were pretty gruesome. It was
Yes.
like Quentin Tarantino.
at any rate, overall, yeah, I like the movie a lot for what it was.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they made it. I'm not displeased that I sat through it. As a matter of fact, like I said, I would sit through it again. So yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
where I'm at.
Yeah.
From a fan standpoint, like a few of the trailers they showed where some of the characters actually said some of the shit from the game, like finish him or
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
let them fire.
And
That's Godzilla. I don't know. But there were other things. There were other things like
yes.
Where when he
he's
said,
like flawless victory.
Yeah.
like,
flawless
That was
victory,
straight out
and
of the
then
game.
finish him, and
Yeah.
then when Sub-Zero's like I am Sub-Zero, like it had a specific cut.
Yes.
And none of those things were in the movie.
Oh, really?
I don't
Oh, yeah. Well, and
So I didn't know, because sometimes that can be kind of a cheesy thing when they're like way over nodding the source material.
sure, and I feel like that there were certain things like you knew that everybody that played the game knew that you could not get out of that movie without them saying like get over here, because that was like the
Yes.
move in that
Yes.
game was
And he
when
does say that.
yeah,
Scorpion,
exactly.
yes.
And
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just missed it. But I remember thinking to myself, I really want to hear them say that in the movie.
Yeah.
How does it work out? And I just don't remember hearing some of this.
Yeah, and another thing that I would like to just throw in really fast, it was very subtle, and I don't want to believe that I was making this up, but at the one portion at the end battle, Sub-Zero used to have that move where it would like he'd leave an ice version of himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was that one like tiny little scene where he like jumps at him and like breaks up the block, and it's like an ice version of him, and
Oh,
like the
yeah.
actual Sub-Zero's up over here.
Yes.
And like
Yes.
those little things were just like so excellent. And I believe in one of the games that the hat guy actually had a move that cut somebody in half.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Right. And so yeah.
Well, and I
That
think
guy.
they kind of set it up where, and again, this is one of these movies where, hopefully, like I guess the way that the movie budget works and all of that, if they came in low enough under budget and made some money on this, hopefully they'll make another one. And I'm really rooting for them. Like honestly, I am. Like
Yeah.
they introduced Johnny Cage at the
Yeah.
end. The dude Lao Kang, I think, or the guy that with the hat that dies. He is supposed to come back as like one of the evil characters.
Yeah, I read an article, and they said that they actually don't have plans to make a sequel. Like they leave it open ended like that, for fun.
Yeah.
But they said, like, listen, it's really up to the fans. If the fans really want it and the money's there, we'll do it. So I think they're
Yeah.
open to it. They've
Yeah.
got an idea, but they don't have a solid, like, yes, this is what we're going to do, and yes, we're actually going to do it until it's given the okay.
Well, I am Warner Brothers. If I have a voice,
yeah.
make the second movie.
Dude, if they can get the Snyder cut of Justice League to actually happen, I'm sure they can get...
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
good. I
they're
hope,
making
and
it-
I hope they do.
I think they're making Constantine 2. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh
that
wow.
if that can happen,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
can...
Well, they're
What about
pretty.
what about Dread 2? Come on.
Yeah, right.
That's
And-
what really needs to happen.
Well, and they're kind of
100%.
they're exhausted on good ideas right now.
Yeah.
So I feel like
Yeah.
rehashing some stuff and just doing it basic but doing it well has been a pretty good source.
Well, and that's a great segue. So this movie, did you was there something, like, if you're gonna critique it, what do you think? Like, I've got a couple of things in mind, but if you're gonna critique it, like, what are some things that were done you thought very, very poorly in this film?
So not necessarily poorly, I would say, but I felt like
Maybe to be done better.
Yeah. Well, and the character, I feel like everybody loved Kano. Obviously, that he was like basically Aussie Man reviews in a film, like as a character in a film, and you love him. I feel like he was disproportionately funny, maybe, to the rest of the movie, that everybody else was super serious, but maybe that's what made him so enjoyable.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then the other people that were kind of playing off of him, I feel like that they just remained too stoic throughout it.
Sure.
And then another small beef that I had is like the build up in the beginning of it. It was disproportionately like, this movie is going to be all about Sub-Zero and Scorpion,
Yeah.
and it's like outside of the bloodline of that dude, like
That was it.
Like that was like really all, and then the in-fight scene. That's all it had to do.
Sure. Yeah.
But I mean, it was like a 20-minute thing in the beginning of it. Maybe
Right.
not that long.
Such
10
a
minutes.
huge thing. Yeah.
No, I agree with you, because like he was supposed to be this guy was supposed to be the one. This bloodline was going to be what disrupted the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was really like the team that disrupted the whole thing, not just like he was maybe one of the legs of the tripod or whatever table or whatever you want to call it, because there was like 4 or 5 characters that actually made up the whole. But yeah, I get what you're saying there. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, for sure. I would second that. Like, I really wanted to see more Scorpion and Sub-Zero stuff. And it was very disproportionate. You know, you see that at the very beginning, and in the end, it just didn't. The front battle at the beginning of the movie, like the battle at the beginning of the movie, seemed so much more climactic than the end. The end was sort of anticlimactic for me.
Yeah.
It was this
Yeah.
huge build up for this refight, like the second fight between those two characters, and it just didn't seem to have the punch that the first one did.
Right. No, I would agree. Well, and there, it just seemed like all the other battles were more like they had that really good Mortal Kombat, like one-on-one kind of feel. And then I feel like the end fight scene maybe was a little bit more like, oh, and now we're saving these people over here because they're in trouble, and now this thing's going on here because this is happening, and it kind of lost what they had built up the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
As far as like the tournament.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a tournament to me. It felt like this is everything going on before the tournament. It didn't feel, because they established that the bad guys were essentially trying to
Circumvent it or
circumvent
cheat.
it.
Yeah.
They're trying to cheat it
right.
before it actually
Yes.
happens. So all this stuff that happens, it didn't ever feel like at one point it went from being them trying to circumvent the tournament to it being the tournament.
Yeah,
Right.
But
Yeah, I
but
agree with
I did like how they kind of addressed that though, and they're kind of like, okay, they don't want a tournament, so they inadvertently gave them one. Like there was none of like the elder gods actually watching it, but they have like Raiden teleport everybody around to have the one-on-one fights. And I thought that was a clever way of working it.
Okay, so it's kind of like America getting over the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Kind of over the NFL. We don't want to watch football games anymore.
Right.
So just tell us who wins.
I would say a serious. I mean, if I had any gripes, because I agree with what you guys are saying here, I think they're spot on in my estimation. But one of the gripes that I had was Raiden felt really like underpowered and just not. I don't want to say not needed.
Which one was Raiden?
Raiden was he's the lightning god that was like he's the protector of Earthrealm.
Oh yeah.
And in the games, he was a playable character.
Yeah.
And so
Badass, like-
I would have liked to see him fight to a certain particular degree. Like it seemed like he was just kind of like standing around going, okay, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to help out and I'm going to kind of like play the backdoor deals. I'm going to do all the backdoor deals, but I'm not going to actually get my hands dirty.
Yeah.
And as to me, just like because of the games and the fact that he was a playable character that you could fight with, it would have been fun to see him kick somebody's ass royally.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
just like get in there and just like stomp somebody hard, as opposed to doing like acting more as like Gandalf, like mage, shoot lightning out of my staff, and that's
and
like
putting up the barrier.
Yeah, and that's about all I can do.
Oh, and then
Yeah.
he portaled out the other god guy, the Shadow Realm god dude. No, and I think that would be one of the biggest things that they would have to do if they made a sequel, is have more of the Elder Gods in there, have like Raiden do some stuff, you know,
Yeah.
because like you said, I mean, he was a playable character in the game.
Right, yeah.
I was gonna say maybe like, you know, we talked about Kano being pretty much the sole comedy in the movie, and I don't know if I have a complaint for that, or if I think that that's the best way to do it, because if everybody was just joking, if everybody had a sense of humor, you wouldn't get the gravity of what they were doing.
No,
It'd
that
just
is
be
fair.
a bunch of people fighting. But I kind of wish there was a little bit more humor than just Kano.
Yeah.
I hear that Johnny Cage.
He's the one
he's
that's
like the funny
he's the cut up.
cut up
Yeah.
guy. So
Yes,
I feel
yes.
like if they do a sequel and he is like the only guy cutting up the whole time and everybody else is super serious, it's gonna work.
Yeah, that is
For
true.
some reason, it just didn't work very well for me with Kano. I liked it, and like I said, but maybe that was the best way to do it, because everybody else was just cracking jokes that just wouldn't have taken the whole tournament seriously.
Sure. No, and that is fair. You know, and there's a lot of memes going around about like, oh, the actor that played Karo, his back hurts from single-handedly carrying Mortal Kombat. Like,
Who said that?
Oh, it was some meme that I saw. You know.
Nice, yeah.
But, and I don't know if it's that far, but you know, he did do a great job.
Wait, who did?
Kano.
Oh yeah. No, I don't think so. I think the movie as a whole. I mean, if you look at it like that, and this is like the sole reason like you were entertained, and that's the joke. Anytime somebody sees somebody like this, without the foils, he's nothing.
Yeah,
Like he's
no,
not a
no,
stand-up
exactly.
comedian.
Oh,
Good save.
this is what happens when you're a big guy.
Momentary. Go grab one of those other chairs.
We're gonna totally cut to one of those like things. It's like.
Decimated. What do they say in the game?
Yeah, fatality.
Fatality.
Fatality. Will it work? Is it gonna hold me?
Yeah, it ought to. And if it doesn't, then it'll fall victim to the same finishing move.
I'm a big fan of not cutting that out. Just keep
No,
it.
we will absolutely.
And we're back.
Fatality.
No, and I think you're absolutely right though. Like, okay, if all it was like everybody clowning around and joking, no, I mean they needed the seriousness to
Yeah.
go back and forth
Yeah.
with him, and I liked the kind of funny things that Sonya did have based off of previous things that Kano
Right.
said, you
Right.
know, like that clearly she can't afford to pay him $3 million, because you're like, oh man, well maybe she does, and you're like, oh no, she was psyching him out. Like, that was fun.
Yeah.
I did.
Well, hold on a minute before you continue on your likes. I have one more gripe to talk about.
Oh, yeah, talk about
and that was, and I never understood this, and maybe if I knew more about Mortal Kombat history or the lore, it would make more sense. But it's like they talk about the realms battling. And it's plural,
yeah.
right? So it's like there are two. There's like the Earth realm, and then there's this other realm. I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, there's two realms. But it's like they made it seem like there was like more than that. You know, like there were more
Yeah.
than just Earth realm and this other Shadow realm. Like,
So there's only two realms.
well, I don't know. That's the question.
There
but
has
it's
to
like,
be,
yeah,
right?
there has to be,
other
right?
realms,
You know,
because where do all these other creatures come from? They're
Well,
obviously
yeah.
distinctively different.
Well, right, because they even mention Goro is like, oh, well, we're happy to have somebody from this group or this like a prince
yeah.
of whatever, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, fighting for, and so it's like there was kind of this idea where it's like it was much bigger, and I kind of would have liked to see, if not, I mean, obviously I don't think they could have done too much, but just glimpses of that. But maybe if they go into an actual thing like, okay, well, Now here's Mortal Kombat 2, the actual Mortal Kombat tournament.
Yeah, no, and I think that would be dope if they did that.
That would be really a cool idea.
I am really on my dislikes though. Like Goro went down like a sack of wheat though, man. I mean, like that was kind of a bummer to me.
Isn't he like the boss? Isn't he, like,
Yeah, I
the
mean,
final-
yeah, right. I believe in one of the games he was like one of the end bosses that.
He was a four-armed Incredible Hulk, is what he was.
Yeah, right.
But-
No, if that's true. That's they probably used the same CGI rig.
Yeah, right. Although what I would say is our boy became badass, and his particular whatever it was, his feng shui or whatever, Arcana. There you go. Good memory. Was, I mean, it was like, okay, well, I can see why, because like this guy's his only ability is like brute strength.
Yeah.
And like the armor perfectly defeats that. So
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
he did go down like once he got his thing on, but
it's
Yeah.
like, you got to beat the shit out of me first.
Right,
Then I'm going
right.
to take you down.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
I think that's what I like about the movie is there's no way to escape the metaphor of like, in my opinion, like when you discover your powers in a movie, like becoming like a sexual adult or something. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
you know, like
okay, yeah.
you know what I
A
mean? Like
sexual
X-Men.
adult,
Yeah, you know what I
wow.
mean? Like
Yeah.
like X-Men. Like they hit their powers in puberty.
Sure.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, so they're the balls are dropping and they got
Yeah, they shoot
beams
lasers out of their eyes,
beams
yeah.
coming out of their eyes.
Right.
In this one, it's like, no, you got to choke me first. Like,
Yeah.
you got to put you
No.
in a situation where it's got to come out. You know what I mean? It felt a little sexual.
Well, and that's fair. But I think ultimately it can be taken as like the Jordan Peterson, like that you've got to go into the chaos to find
Yeah.
your purpose. You can't stay comfortable to realize your full potential. You have to take the beating, so to speak. And whether I mean. I don't know what your first sexual experience
It wasn't. It's just like that one dude. He just couldn't perform. It's like he just couldn't get there.
Yeah, no, right, exactly.
You know?
And yeah, like shooting a laser beam out of your eye, sure, that's kind of how it felt the first time.
boom. You heard it here first, folks.
So before we wrap up this segment, as far as dislikes, anything else that really jumped out?
Oh, my bad. That was just my likes. I
Oh,
just
no,
went
no.
straight into it.
No,
My-
that's
Okay.
good. I think we're actually on that now.
No, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I got it.
Are you?
Yeah, no, I thought that there was something else that I didn't like, but I guess I got it all out.
I was gonna say.
I think so. Maybe
we
it
go.
was even you that mentioned this to me, that Liu Kang seemed kind of like a little wimpy in this, a little feminine maybe, and I don't want to say feminine. He just didn't like he kicked a lot of ass in the games, and I feel like he kind of took a back seat in this. But that would
fair.
yeah. So that's my last dislike, and I hope if they make another one, since he was in this, that he has a vendetta still. So
Yeah.
I hope he kicks a lot of ass in the
For
second
sure.
one, and they get the same dude, because the dude in the first movies was fucking chiseled, man. I mean,
Yeah.
he was buff as all get out.
In which one?
In the first Mortal Kombat movies.
Oh,
like,
really?
I mean, they found like the buffest dude that they could find.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I thought the actor did a good job. I just
Right.
felt like they could have written him a little bit more kick-ass. Like
Yeah.
every time he like throws a fireball, somebody's just like, boo.
Oh, yeah. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, you're right about that. And he was. I mean, it was just like you said. It was a little bit like. But I mean, look, that's the modern the take on men. Is it's like it used to be Arnold Schwarzenegger was the persona of all that is man, and then
Yeah.
it became Brad Pitt.
And
it's
they replaced him with Colin Farrell or something.
Yeah.
Total Recall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's not it at all. But going on to the likes, I like real quick. One of my favorite things was, as Aaron pointed out earlier, like the way that they did the assault on the Shadow Realm. Like it was awesome, and the finishing moves, like the fatalities,
Yeah.
were excellent in this movie. Like I thought they
Yeah.
did that spot on.
Yeah.
Like it was It was fantastic.
That chick that can fly like gets split in half by the dude's hat. It was pretty great.
Yeah, right.
Well, and Jax, once he finally gets his arms and he goes and he kicks the ass of the guy with the big hammer and then like smashes his head
yeah.
between the between his hands, and you're like,
Oh,
oh
shit! He's like, yeah, I can.
these will work.
These will work.
Okay.
No, that was well, and along those same lines, I would really like to just a major shout out that they didn't try to make this PG-13.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
They didn't do
Thank
any.
you.
Really
Like,
hit hard.
Well, and thank God, like, okay, all of us that grew up playing that now are mid-30s, you know, probably mid 30s to early
Right.
40s, and it's like, yeah, thank you, because kids, you know, that they're not gonna have played this game, and plus, man, kids nowadays, they're watching more jacked up things than I ever did. So I mean, we can handle an R rating, and it needed an R rating,
Yeah.
and they did it. They delivered.
Yeah.
I also like, you know, they treated the female character really great.
Sonya?
She didn't have any powers at all.
For the longest,
she
yeah.
Yeah.
had to work for her stuff.
Yes.
One of my favorite scenes is basically like when they enter into the ring and they're like, if you don't have powers, you're just gonna be. You're going to be a liability.
Yes.
He's like,
Yes.
get out of here. And she has to go and wait by the black guy while he's healing and shit. But then later, like, she beats the shit out of Kano.
Yeah,
And she
right.
She earns it. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
kind of like,
Yes.
you want to get all political with it, you know? And it's just like, that's kind of the way it is. Like, some people get the advantage of having the sign, so they're kind of inducted in, and they just got to figure out what their power is. She had to fight her way into it, and I believed it, and I liked it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and that there was almost like this Mortal Kombat dogma that it's like, oh, well, she can't compete in the tournament, but since we're not actually doing a tournament, Raiden wasn't like some dick about it, and he's like, wasn't like, oh, well, I'm not going to send you over there. You don't have a mark. Like, he's just like, shoot, you want to go fight this guy? I'll send you over there.
Yeah.
Like, no
Yeah,
big
yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
And that
Agreed.
was really, and I feel like as Dread as a reference, I loved, that was probably my favorite aspect of Dread, the Carl Urban version, is like how he's like a really stickler for the rules, and then she does some stuff that makes her, you know, not like fail her assessment, and then at the end he's like, oh yeah, no, she passed. Like,
Yeah, I
you get, like,
agreed.
he got
Agreed.
it, that it's not all about the hard dogma.
Yes.
And I feel like that was kind of the same thing, like,
For
oh,
sure.
well, even though she doesn't have her mark, she can still help out here and eventually
Yes.
earn her mark, so
Yeah.
now that she can fight in
Right.
later
And now
Mortal
she's
Kombat.
badass.
Yeah.
I thought the progression of the movie was, like, the tempo of it was perfection. Like, I don't know, like, maybe there are some parts in going back and watching it again where it's like, oh, this is a long-winded, or this is, like, boring or whatever.
Maybe,
But
yeah.
I felt like everything was appropriately timed.
Didn't
And
lag.
exactly, and nothing hung up to where it was like, well, come on, guys, like, can we move this along? You're like, okay, it just had a very nice pace to it, and I felt like they started you someplace, they took you to a place, and they did it in a good amount of time. They answered. I mean, I'm just gonna say what I love so much about a movie like this is, yeah, there may be a lot of questions if you were to sit down and really contemplate it, but it's like a movie like Godzilla versus Kong, where, like, afterwards you're kind of like, oh, come on, you know, like, in a movie like this. And maybe it's because it's the more mystic, and, you know, you don't have to answer a lot of questions, and at the end of it you're just like, wow, that was really fun to watch. And there wasn't a lot of that, like, scratching your head kind of going. I felt like they did a great job. The writing, everything was just done. It was a very well made movie for what it was. It wasn't Gone
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
Wind, but it was also
It's just entertainment.
It's just entertainment.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like it didn't go too far because, you know, and maybe I'm just getting older, but that some of the times, like, watching too long-winded of fight scenes, even, that you're just like, okay, all
We
right,
get it
all
now.
right, yeah, right. Where I feel like that they didn't really even the fight scenes were like, oh, okay, well, they did this, oh, and then they just smash that guy's head and it's done, you know. And
I wonder.
appreciated that.
Yeah, I wonder if they took, like, looked at the average length of a fight in Mortal Kombat and said, like, if they were smart, maybe they would have been like, okay, well, these two guys are kicking each other's ass, and the average length of this is this long. Let's just make it that long.
Like how many seconds did you have? It was like normally like 99 seconds or something in like those games that you had to finish it. But
both rounds. Yeah, exactly.
Right. No, man, and that was really good, and also all the predictability, because it was based off of a game. You enjoyed all the predictability, and you're like, oh hell yeah, I knew that was gonna happen, because this, like, oh, I bet this is how Jax loses his arms. Great, that's exactly what happens. Like, and
you're just seeing it in 4K.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yes.
Nice, Cody. Yeah.
Well, and even the little homage to the when he's like, oh, they even misspelled it. That was classic.
And the guy even brought it up. It's like they spelled it wrong. It's like, yeah, that's the point here.
That's so rad.
Anyway.
Well, guys, thanks for joining us. I think we've. I really quick, I gotta say, like, when we went into the critiques part, it's like, okay, what don't you like about the movie? And it's like, everyone was kind of like in this mood that's like, like, well, if I gotta say something, and it's like, we're with Godzilla versus Kong, all of us are like, whoa.
Well, the thing is, it's like, in Godzilla versus Kong, it's like, we really liked this movie. It was entertaining. It was really great. And then we spent so long just bitching about it. That's because we love it.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's almost like holding somebody to a higher standard, but at any rate.
Well, yeah, and like you said, this didn't have all like the technology or the humanity or all the loopholes that they had to throw in to make Godzilla versus Kong work.
Yeah,
it was good. Yeah. It was good. If you haven't watched it, just watch it. Yeah. And maybe play the video game a little bit first.
Two thumbs up. I would definitely say 2 thumbs up. Definitely. I mean, for what it was, like I said, don't expect a masterpiece, but it's
not
fun.
Good Will Hunting.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm. But even they had to get some punishment to realize their arcana in Good Will Hunting as well.
Later on.
Later.